But I'll do a little revamped version with a guitar, one called I'm Going to Heaven. I started to a land where there's everlasting joy, singing with the angel band there, nothing to annoy. There'll be friends and loved ones with him ever stay. I am going home to heaven some sweet day. Shouting, singing, praises ringing in that happy land. Friends I know there makes me want to go there with him on that strand. Time is drawing nearer, I've not long to stay. I am going home to heaven some sweet day. To grieve us, there'll be lasting peace. Friends will never have to leave us, parting will have ceased. Soon my troubles will be over, I will sail away. I am going home to heaven some sweet day. Shouting, singing, praises ringing in that happy land. Friends I know there makes me want to go there with them on that strand. Time is drawing nearer, I've not long to stay. I am going home to heaven some sweet day. Yeah, I am going home to heaven some sweet day. Some sweet day. Thank y'all.
My name is Machen Ledford. I'm from Watauga, Tennessee, and I'm 21. This is my third year on summer staff. During staff training of 2021, that was my first year. I went into it not really knowing what was going to happen or what it was going to be like necessarily. But one thing that I found was during staff training, they set extra time aside to make sure that I was well fed spiritually, and that they taught me how to feed myself spiritually so that I can turn around and feed the campers. One of my former campers that was here last year, he came from a not so good home. He really was just having a hard time. He was struggling a lot, had a hard time misbehaving, didn't want to participate in a lot of stuff. And as we started going throughout the week, we started talking about who God is and his character and who he is. And we started talking about who we are in Christ and how we have a new identity and our character has changed and we are loved and we are adorned by God. And we gave him the opportunity to take what the world did and how they hurt him and put it aside and accept what God has done and how God has loved him. And it really, from the start of the week to the end of the week, he was just a completely different person. Like his attitude changed, the way he spoke to others changed. It was really encouraging for me to see that.
I'm Raul G. I'm 21. I've been here working since last summer, so this is my second summer. My first year at Doe River, I was 11, and I came all the way up until I was 16. Doe River Gorge has been like my second home. As soon as I came here for my first summer, I quit my job in Florida and came here and felt so welcomed right away, and had honestly not much of an idea of what I was doing, but all the people here were so supportive, and I just immediately made so many friends, and it's really become a place where I can strengthen my relationship with God and do it comfortably so that when I leave here and go out into the world, I can do it the right way.
I'm Karis. I am 21 years old. I'm from Cumberland Gap, Tennessee, so about 2 hours away from here. And I have been coming to Doe River this is either my 12th or 13th year, lose count. I am on full-time staff at Doe River Gorge. I do recruiting, so I get the opportunity to bring all these awesome summer staff in. God has used Doe River Gorge in a huge way in my life. I started coming to camp when I was 8 years old. It was my most favorite thing out of the entire year. Every single Christmas, I would look forward to getting an envelope on the tree that said I was going to Doe River that summer. I didn't care if I had any other gifts, I just cared that I was going to Doe River that summer. And then as I got older, Doe River Gorge really became a safe place for me, like a home away from home. There was a point in my life where my heart was really turned away from God, and a period of time when I was really running and searching. I thought that God was maybe mad at me or that I had just lost connection with Him. Doe River Gorge is where I learned that God is a personal and relational God. It's really where He became real to me. I came to Doe River and I was like, what? This is what God's love feels like? It's real, it's personal. Doe River Gorge is such a unique, special place to me, and I am just so honored and grateful to have spent so many years here.
So there's a lot of experiences here that you wouldn't necessarily get elsewhere. We do boast a lot of high adventure stuff, but we do that with the purpose of taking everything that we have, all the big high adventure things, anything that can push you past your boundaries, we can take that and find a way to learn from that experience how that relates to our walk with Christ. And it's a really special thing because I haven't done that anywhere else. I've never seen that happen before.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us here this evening. We are grateful and honored. Over the past 30 years, many of you have invested in this ministry. You've invested your time, you've invested your resources and your money to help both establish and advance this ministry. The testimonies that you just saw on that video is the return on your investment. And not just those testimonies, but since that first summer in 1995, as you saw on the screen, more than 32,000 young people have spent at least a week here or longer. Thousands of those young people have made decisions to align their character, their values, and their behavior with the truth and wisdom of God's Word. And what's really exciting is over 6,000 of those young people have made the decision to place their trust in Jesus Christ for salvation. I often wonder how their lives might be different had people not invested to make a difference in their lives. I want to introduce you to a young lady who's been here for some time in her life, and she's going to tell you about the impact of Doe River in her life. Maddie, where are you? Here we go. Come on up.
It's okay. We'll keep it there. Hey, I'm Maddie, like Terry said. Let me look at my paper. I'm a little nervous. So I'm an intern here currently at Doe River Gorge. So I live here. I get to serve here. It's a blessing. But I've grown up here at camp. I've been coming to Doe River Gorge since I was 8, and I've been serving here for 4 summers this year. This will be my 4th summer. So needless to say, I've been involved with Doe River my majority of my life. And it's been a super big part of it. So every year, Doe River was what I looked forward to. It was something, oh my gosh, that's me, sorry. I looked forward to Doe River so much so that it became kind of like a crutch for my faith. I depended on it every year to restart, recharge, and put my face back to the Lord. Because outside of Doe River, it was just regular life for me. I went through all the programs. We have leadership programs here. And in 2020, chaotic year, when everything started going down, I was supposed to be doing the LEAD program, which is a month program here, and it got canceled. And once it got canceled, my life kind of spiraled. I was like, what am I supposed to do without Doe River? How am I supposed to restart? I feel stuck right now. And that's where I was supposed to get fresh, start over. And after that, I was filled with so much bitterness in the next 2 years. After 2021, I was filled with sadness and was so angry at everything, losing myself every day. And I was just resorting to going to the world to fix, and the world was not filling me, even remotely. And I think genuinely I can say confidently that during those 2 years of my life, I did not recognize myself. I was in a very, very rough spot. And I did serve here during those 2 years, and even then, I was still getting filled with the Lord, but I was not where I needed to be. 2023 hit, and I was going to serve that summer, and for the beginning of that year, I just heard the Lord saying, Maddie, you need to come back to me. Like, I am the answer. And I just kept pushing that down because I didn't know how to face it. Didn't know how to start because I felt so behind and so stuck and so filled with shame that it covered my whole life. My whole identity was just being in that darkness. And eventually, about a month before I was supposed to come for summer staff, I decided to face that and say, Lord, I'm ready to come back. And he basically said, awesome, I got it from here. And he changed everything in the 2 weeks before I was supposed to come to camp. And I can't explain the amount of joy and peace I got after that. It was like my whole life had completely changed in just a week. Sorry. It's just God. I don't know how to explain it. I was super, super stuck. And it changed in a day just by saying, Lord, I give it to you. And I got to serve that summer, 2023 last summer, and let me tell you, the best summer of my life. I was so filled. I was filling other people for once. I had a cup that was overflowing that I never experienced before. And I can say that summer changed more of me than I changed myself in 3 years. And I am now an intern, and I've been here since last summer, living here, serving here, doing all those things. And I only get that opportunity because God led me here. And I got to be a part of it. And now I have the gift to share that with other people, because my religion was turned into a relationship. And now I get to go out, not even at Doe River. It's a blessing. This place is a vessel, and the Lord uses it in many and mighty ways. And I get to be a part of it. And the gift of sharing the relationship with other people and telling them the truth of that. So thank you for listening to my chaotic spill. The Lord is good.
Thank you, Maddie. She's a beautiful person inside and out. Well, our official name here is Doe River Gorge Ministries. We're probably best known for the summer camps that we do, but our mission is not to do summer camps. Our mission is to inspire and equip people to be passionate followers of Christ. And summer camps is certainly one of the vital things we do to achieve that mission, but over the years we've established some other ministries to help achieve our mission. One is the teen leadership programs that she was talking about.
There's 3 different programs, 2, 3, and 4-week program, where we seek to help kids stand firm in their faith and become leaders among their generation. And then we do a Day Quest program. Maybe many of you have been a part of that. That's select Saturdays in the summer and fall when we invite families, corporate groups, and churches to come and enjoy a full day of fun and adventure. It's our way of engaging our community. And we have actually seen entire families come to know Christ through coming to a day of fun and adventure at Day Quest. We also do a father-son challenge. I think we've done that now for 22 years, where fathers and sons come together and spend 3 days building their relationships and developing memories that will last for a lifetime. A number of years ago, we saw the need for college kids who are walking away from their faith during the struggling years, and we started a program called Exponential. Exponential is a 9-month gap year program designed to help students grow firm in their faith. They discover their gifts and abilities and passions, and they can actually get 11 college credit hours by participating in that program. So if you don't have a college kid or a high school graduate that's struggling with what they're going to do next, they may want to apply for that. That will start in late August. So all these ministries help us achieve our mission to inspire and equip people to be passionate followers of Christ. But carrying out these ministries can be expensive. We have to raise, beyond the fees that we charge, we have to raise around $600,000 just to keep our doors open. So a few years ago, our board began to look for ways that we could expand our ministry during the slow season, which is about 2 weeks before Thanksgiving and 2 weeks after New Year's. The bills keep coming, but there's hardly anyone here during that period of time. And we also wanted to look for things that we could do to produce revenue to sustain our year-round operations. We heard about a camp in Oklahoma that did a thing called the Christmas train. They had a railroad, and we have a railroad, and not too many camps have railroads. So we were intrigued about what they were doing and took an exploratory trip out to Oklahoma. We were actually mesmerized by our experience. The entire campus was transformed into a festive Christmas wonderland with warm campfires, amazing food, singing carolers, various shops and attractions. But the highlight of the evening was riding aboard a steam locomotive train where through 43 storyboards they would tell, and 3 live scenes, you would experience the story of Christmas from the creation of the world to the resurrection of Jesus Christ. It was actually like riding through a life-size storybook. Each year, they would sell 60,000 tickets in less than 1 hour. It produced tremendous revenue for their year-round operations, and they shared the true story of Christmas and the gospel message with literally thousands of people. Over 20 years of running that operation, they estimated 150,000 people came to know Christ and received God's gift of salvation. Shortly after that visit, our board made the decision to put a Christmas train in our long-range plans. We made numerous return trips out to Dry Gulch, saw behind the scenes, saw all that they were doing. And in our visit in Christmas of 2016, the guy who started it all, he has a worldwide ministry, a church of 10,000 people, ministries all over the world, a publishing house. He called us in and told us that his 2 sons were taking over his worldwide ministries because he was getting ready to retire. And he said, y'all have been coming out here for 4 years, wanting to start your own Christmas train. He said, I've been praying for 5 years about closing ours down because my sons don't have a vision for it. Right now it's at its peak, and I know without a vision it will perish and go downhill. So he said, if you'll take it to Tennessee and keep it together as a ministry, I would be willing to sell it to you at a fraction of its value. Well, his fractions were bigger than our whole numbers. But they offered us 2 historic steam locomotives, 11 passenger coaches, 1.7 miles of railroad track and ties, 43 storyboards that tell the story from creation of the world to the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Matter of fact, they told us they had $400,000 just in the drawings of these storyboards. Also, over 1,000 custom-made costumes and thousands, I don't know how many thousands of decorations. Well, through the generosity of God's people, in 2019, we were able to complete the purchase. It took 57 tractor trailer loads to bring all of that stuff here to Tennessee from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Well, within a few months after the tractor trailer loads had arrived, COVID hit, and we shut down the entire project. But as you saw when you drove in tonight, it's well underway. We have a lot of mud and a lot of other things going on. I want to show you just a flyover of the campus and what has been done. So let's watch this. This building under construction that you see at the bottom of the page is where the train ride will start. That's the train station. We'll talk more about that in a moment. That's the Christmas train journey, hopefully by 2025. Since Doe River Gorge started in 1987, it has been a series of God's miraculous provisions that no one person or group of people could orchestrate. And the Christmas train has been no exception. I want to share a few of the miraculous provisions God has done to bring us to this point, because to be honest with you, we've never had any money in the bank our whole history. If we ended a year with $10,000 in the bank, I was like, yay, whoopee, we're in the black. But, you know, the first miracle is getting the Christmas train package. It was like a Disney World quality experience when we visited them each year. And never in a million years could we have thought to pray, God, please help them to close this place down, sell us everything at a fraction of its value, and let us take it all to Tennessee. I've prayed some, what I consider big prayers, but you wouldn't even think to pray that. But we were praying for a Christmas train, and God did exceeding abundantly beyond all that we could ask, think, or imagine. It's only a God thing. And then, you know, when you get it here, you've got to build a railroad track. And Gary Tysinger with Tysinger Hampton and Partners had been providing his services here for years and years, and his specialty was building railroads. So his organization came on and started developing engineering plans for us. And then grading 2 miles of railroad that can't be over 2% grade is quite a task. And takes quite a while to develop that, takes big, heavy equipment. And I was standing out here in front of the depot one day when camp was being dismissed, and a gentleman came up to me and he said, "Do you run this place?" And I was like, was it good or was it bad? And he said, "My daughter had a great time." He said, "I want to volunteer." Well, that perked my ears up, because I'm always looking for volunteers, but I'm usually the one begging. And then he said, "I want to donate." Well, that even perked my ears up more. And so he said, "Give me your phone number. I'm going to call you." So that evening, he texted me 3 or 4 times and set up a meeting for Tuesday. And following Tuesday, he walked in my office, and as I remember, he had a notepad in his hand. He said, "What do you need to run this place, equipment-wise?" And I said, well, I found out this gentleman owned some John Deere dealerships. And I said, well, I need a lawnmower. He said, like a 60-inch zero turn? I said, yeah. He said, okay, I'll give you one. Then he said, what else you need? I said, well, I really need a second mower to mow all these hills with. He says, okay, I'll get you one of those. He said, what else you need? I said, well, I probably have enough needs to bankrupt your company. He said, that's okay, go ahead. And so he said, you need like a personal transport vehicle, like a Gator? And I said, yeah, I'd love one of those. So he brought all that equipment out. And, we're used to doing broken down mowers and golf carts that won't run sometime. And so he brought all that equipment out, and he said, I'm going to give you this for a year, then I'm going to come take it back. I'm going to bring you brand new equipment and sell that as used equipment. And so now we get brand new equipment every year. Chuck Mead Tractor, where are you? Chuck, you're such a blessing. And, wow. And then Chuck found out about the Christmas train, and he sent us out the biggest, I think, track hoe, 2 track hoes, and a big dozer for us to use. We had it here for probably 9 months after I told him we only needed it for 8 weeks. And so we used his heavy equipment. And Steve Matherly, who's worked out here forever, Steve, where you owns Earthworks, he came out and ran that equipment and brought some of his own equipment. And now he's digging ditches out here, putting in a sewer system. Steve, thank you, and your wife for what you all do. That's another thing you can't think to pray. God help the guy who owns like 26 John Deere dealerships to walk up to me and say he'll give us equipment. You just can't think of that. Or a guy with the Earthworks come out and, these are things you can't orchestrate. Well, then we were looking for a firm to do the grading and all of this out here. And I'm telling you, we couldn't have selected a better people than Baker Construction. Jeremy and Jessica Baker, they're here. All this heavy equipment you see laying around here, he must have 20 pieces of heavy equipment. And we contracted with him just to grade like a 14-foot railroad bed around here. Well, you see parking lots, you see building pads, you see rock being crushed, which I'll get into in just a moment. And Jeremy and Jessica have done all of that. Thank you, Jeremy. You've gone so far beyond the call of duty, and we're so grateful. Well, then we needed railroad ties. Railroad ties are about $45 a piece, and we needed about 4,000 of them. And watch this video.
Hey everyone, I am super excited to share with you another one of God's miraculous provisions for the Christmas Train Project. Over the past 25 years, we have struggled to have enough railroad ties for the current railroad, let alone installing 2 more miles of track. But thanks to incredible ministry partners, we now have thousands of ties here on site ready to be installed. Maughon Flooring has worked with their sawmills to get all of these railroad ties donated, and Reynolds Trucking has shipped them all here for free. A huge thanks to our ministry partners for helping us get this project up and running so that we will have the opportunity to share the gospel with thousands of people.
You may not know that Maughon Flooring is a Christian company. Their major owner lives in Buffalo, New York, and they give away 90% of their income and live on 10%. And Neil Poland, the local president here, he went to one of his suppliers that they buy lumber from, and he said, would you be willing to cut a tractor trailer, cut a load of railroad ties and donate them to me? And so they said yes. Then he went to his other supplier, sawmill, and said, hey, your competitor over here is donating he went to 17 sawmills, and they all donated a tractor trailer load of railroad ties. How do you orchestrate that? And then, there's not a lot of people in this world who can work on steam locomotives and operate them. Well, there was a gentleman and his wife who came here for a week, and they'd stay in our caboose from Sebring, Florida. I didn't know it, but he was developing a passion to come here. And this gentleman had rebuilt the steam locomotive that was in the movie Fried Green Tomatoes, if you've seen that movie. The state of Georgia gave him $2.2 million to do that, and he rebuilt several other steam locomotives. And he told his wife he thought they should move to Tennessee. She said, I will never move to Tennessee. And so year after year, he said, I think God's calling us to Tennessee. She said, I will not move to Tennessee unless God gives me a clear sign. She went to work the next day, and they fired her on the spot after being there for 17 years. I guess the company got bought out. David and Kathy, where are y'all? Right back here. The day they arrived here was a year ago this month. They arrived up here, and they bought a trailer to live in while they built a house up in the Doe River subdivision. And in their U-Haul, they hadn't unpacked the thing. Our diesel locomotive up here blew an engine. And so David, before they ever unpacked the first thing, went up and pulled the engine out of that, pulled the Caterpillar engine out of that diesel locomotive, took it up to Stowers Machinery in Kingsport, which is a cat dealer. They rebuilt the engine, and he had it back of the train running within a week. So then we needed a lot of gravel. Our budget called for $500,000 just for gravel for the railroad bed, not counting gravel for roads or parking lots or anything like that. So we found a Simo rock over on one of our mountains, and Jeremy went over and looked at it and had some soil scientists and who else do you have over here? 5 or 6 people? So they said we think you can make our own gravel. So let me show you this video. Here's one of the miracles in all of that. When they took the engine up to the cat dealer, found out they were believers, and they sell rock crushers and rent them. So Jeremy worked with them, and they loaned us a rock crusher for 6-8 months, and they usually rent for $50,000 a month. Then Jeremy brought in all his rock crushers, so we've been crushing a lot of hard rock, and it's saved us. It's probably saving us, what do you say, $1 million maybe? Yeah, at least $1 million. So, and most of these guys Jeremy brought in said they've never seen anything like that on the side of a mountain. They said God must have put that in here for y'all when he created the world. So praise the Lord for that. Also storyboards. I mean, these miracles keep going. The storyboards are huge, and they're 40 feet long, 12 feet high, and so they won't fit on a tractor trailer. So when we took them down in Dry Gulch, we had to cut them and fold them in half to get them on a tractor trailer. When we brought them here, you can kind of see this pile of scrap metal. And it just so happened that a person retired and built a house up in our subdivision who was a sign guy for 30 years with Snyder Signs, and he rebuilt signs. And so Randy took charge of taking all these signs, welding them back together, putting them back together. And he was just overwhelmed because he said, I'm not a welder. Well, God, just a few months ago, opened a welding school 1 block up from Doe River Gorge. And They needed welding projects for their students, so they welded all these boards back together for us for free. And so then we had to lay the track. We could not find anyone that would lay narrow gauge track. We looked for a year and a half. And then Dennis Goodson, a guy that helped us out in Dry Gulch in Oklahoma, take up the track. He brought his crew in, and they are still here laying railroad track. Dennis, are you here? Right here, Dennis Goodson from Texas. And he has been amazing. You wouldn't believe how hard they work. But here's the funny thing. Dennis said growing up, his dad laid railroad tracks, so they moved all over the country, and they'd stay somewhere 2 to 3 years while his dad laid railroad, and they moved somewhere else. And so when he came here, he flew in here, and he goes, "Is anywhere near Kingsport, Tennessee?" He said, "When I was 10 years old, my family moved to Kingsport for 2 years, and my dad laid all the track at Eastman." So that's Dennis. So God brought him back after all these years. Well, then we had to engineer a multi-purpose building, and Craig Young, who has volunteered out here for 20 years, we got with Prosum Engineer, and they've been engineering. Go to the next slide there. Craig, this building, which is our railroad station, our dining hall, 2,500 square foot meeting room, and next year, Lord willing, we can have our banquet in this building. Craig Young, are you here? I know you're here somewhere. Craig, where are you? Craig, he's helped us out with projects here for 20 years at least, so thank you for Craig. And then C.W. Parker, architects, done all of our architect work since day one here. He's now retired, but thanks to C.W. And Jim Hansen, someone that lives in Orlando, Florida, does all of these drawings for us absolutely free. He does drawings for Disney, and we met him, and he said, I'll do anything you want to draw. And so he does all these renderings for us for free. So anyway, all of these stories are things you cannot orchestrate. But it's God's hand, and it's just humbling to see, just to stand back and watch it. Well, how is the Christmas train benefiting all of Doe River Gorge? Let me run through these. First of all, it's just not a Christmas train project, although we've labeled it as that. But because of the Christmas train project, we were able to acquire 15 acres of property with highway frontage. We can put a sign down there. There was all kind of buildings that we can convert. It also allows improvements to the overall campus. We've got power lines that used to run all throughout the camp. All those power lines are going underground. Matter of fact, about 1,000 feet of them are already underground. I've actually got a picture of them underground. There it is. We also got. Well, that was my son's idea. We also got a parking lot, which we've never officially had a parking lot except our little one up by the office. We're getting an engine house. I want to show you. There's the parking lot. This is the only place we've had to work on all of our railroad equipment, out in the cold, in the rain. That's the only thing we've had for the last 20 years to work on our trains. Now I want you to notice what we're getting. We're getting a 7,500 square foot engine house with a pit, and David particularly is anxious to get this up so he can start rebuilding some steam locomotives. We're also getting a 15,000 square foot train station, as we showed you earlier, that'll have new dining space, new meeting and conference room. This tent, we've lived in tents and met in tents for the last 25 years, and tents are great unless it's too cold or too hot or it's raining hard or it's lightning or the wind's blowing. Other than that, they're fabulous. So now we're going to have a permanent structure that we can meet under, and it's going to free up this tent, which will become a recreation tent. We put our ping pong tables, cornhole, everything in here, and this can be just for recreation for the kids. So we're getting that as well. We're getting a new maintenance building. There's this tent when it collapsed, and Steve put this tent back together. We thought it was totally destroyed. You can see where the braces are here. This thing was supposed to withstand 100 mile per hour wind, and It was made in China. We're also getting a new maintenance building. There's an 8,000 square foot building down on the new property that we're converting into the maintenance building, which will free up our current maintenance building, which is in one of the most beautiful parts of our property. I know that doesn't look beautiful, but it's on the riverfront. And we want to convert that building into a day camp for kids where we can pick them up on the highway, bring them in on the train, and we're going to convert it in and call it the Cranberry Mine Kids Camp. This railroad was built to go to the Cranberry Mines, and that's a model of the Cranberry Mines. So can you see that other building being converted to this? And we think we can reach thousands of kids through day camps. And most of the infrastructure is there. The restrooms are there, the gazebo's there, the river's there. It's one of the most beautiful sites that we have on the property. The other thing that Christmas Train is going to do is produce revenue for year-round operations. All of this construction will allow us to enhance the ministry of Doe River Gorge. My son Michael showed me a verse, Colossians 4:5, and it says, "Be wise in the way you act toward outsiders. Make the most of every opportunity." And he said, "Dad, God's given us a historic railroad. We need to make the most of that opportunity." Well, by this point this evening, it may become evident that our theme for this banquet is the gift. And so we would all agree that the gift of salvation is probably the greatest gift we've ever received. And it's the greatest gift we want to see others receive. So what is it worth to tell someone about Christ and see them receive that gift of salvation? Perhaps you have been wondering what the gift is on your table. The big box in the middle, if you had to take one of the little boxes or the big box, what would you take? Well, the one in the middle looks glitzy and glamorous, and so you may take that. But that box tonight represents what the world has to offer. To our young people, it looks glitzy and glamorous and big and shiny. But if you open that box, it's empty. The little box you see is wrapped in craft paper. It's a little rugged. It's maybe not so glitz and glamorous. It looks a little rough. So I hope maybe you've been a little curious what's in those boxes. So I'd like for everyone to take one of those boxes. And those boxes actually is going to represent tonight the gift that God wants to give you. And He wants to provide for everyone. So here's what I want you to do, and we're all going to do it at the same time. Unwrap the first ribbon and open it up. And you're going to see something that I hope tastes good for you, and maybe you need it for your breath. The Bible says, "Taste and see that the Lord is good." So there's some mints for you this evening that represent tasting that the Lord is good. And then open your second box. Well, you will notice there's some tokens in there. Those represent the riches of Christ. Each of those tokens is a Christmas train token, if you look at them. You can actually bring those back to the Christmas train and spend them. But until the Christmas train gets here, would you take maybe one of those, put it in your pocket or your purse, and every time you pull it out, remember to pray for the Christmas train? And God wants to give us His riches, all the riches in Christ. As you grow in your relationship with Christ, you realize these riches that He has for us. Okay, now then open your next box. As you get to know Christ in a deeper way, you discover that the gift you receive is even more than you could ever imagine. This is really fun. In there, you'll see a bag, a velvet bag. If you'll open up that velvet bag, you will see a cross. And this is known as the comfort cross, and it's made so you can grip it in your hand And so when you're going through the tough times of life, you can take that cross and grip it in your hand, knowing that God has got things under control. He's always there for you. He'll never let you down. Let this be a reminder that even in the hardest times, Christ is with you. That's another thing you can carry in your pocket, have it, grip it, claim the promises of God. And then when you learn these truths, you can go out and share them with others. So the next thing in the bottom of your pack there is a pass to our Day Quest program. That pass is worth $112, good for 4 people to come to Day Quest. You can bring your friends to Day Quest and engage them in an atmosphere of fun and adventure, acceptance, and love, where maybe they can discover who God is themselves. I'm a little bit over time because we got started late, but there's one thing I want to share with you, another miracle. Those boxes are hard to make. You know how much time it took them to make those boxes? Zoe, and where's the team that made those things? All right. Now you can put your box back together and show it to the next person. But they do go back together. I want to share with you one other miracle that God has done to advance this project. In 2019, we had just paid for all the stuff for the Christmas train. We had paid to bring it back to Doe River Gorge, 57 tractor trailer loads. It had taken every penny that we could muster. And then we were looking at launching a capital campaign to do the project, and COVID hit. Most of our contracted guest groups began to cancel and ask for refunds. And then we had to make the most difficult decision to cancel camps for 2020. We lost more than $800,000 in cancellations, plus money that would have come in for new reservations. I thought there was no way we could ever recover. I thought we would probably go bankrupt, much less develop the Christmas train. One of the things we were going to eventually need was a lot of shelving. And so I was kind of looking for shelving that we could put all this 57 tractor trailer loads up in a warehouse. And somebody told me about a warehouse in Gray that was taking down a lot of shelving. So I drove up to Gray. I went in the warehouse and I asked the guy, I said, "What are you going to do with this shelving?" He said, "I don't know. You need to call the owner." So he gave me the owner's name. I called him up, and I had known this person for a long time, but probably never had over a 60-second conversation with him. I said, "Is there any chance you'd be willing to donate some shelving?" So he said, "How much do you need?" And I said, "Probably 100 feet. So he said, "Yeah, that'd be great." He said, "Go get you 100 feet. Well, I called him back up to thank him for that after we got the shelving. And he said, "You need some more of that shelving?" And I said, "Sure, I could probably use as much of it as you got." He said, "Well, just go in there and get all of it if you want it." So we went in there and got all of that shelving, and we had it appraised, and it appraised for over $120,000. And so I called him up to thank him for that, and I said, I'd like to maybe sometime talk to you about a project I'm working on." He said, "Well, come over to the office and we'll sit down and you can tell me about it." So I went over to his office, and we probably spent 2 to 3 hours talking. So I went from less than a 60-second conversation in 20 years to a 2 to 3 hour conversation. Several months went by, and just out of the blue one day, this person called me and he said, "I think I'd like to make a donation to your Christmas train project." He said, "I'd like to make a big donation." I didn't know how he defined big, but he said, "Maybe $500,000. I was like, wow, we've never had a gift like that in our life. He said, "But I need to talk to my accountant." So 2 weeks later, he came back and said, "I'm going to do $1 million. And so I was like, wow. I couldn't believe somebody was giving us that kind of money. And so a couple weeks later, he called and said, "I got this check ready. You want to come by the office and pick it up, or you want me to stick it in the mail?" I said, I was just headed your way. What was really fun, I took it to the bank immediately, and I had it upside down. I signed the back of it, and I slid it under the little counter, and I said, "Oh, I'd like to cash this, please." She said, "Okay." She picked it up and looked at it, and she showed it to the lady next to her, and she said, "You want to cash this?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." There was a long pause, and she said, "Sir, we don't have much cash in the bank." I said, I'm just kidding. I just want to deposit it. So that really kicked it off, and we launched the capital campaign back. This person has since made additional gifts to this campaign, and one of his companies has taken charge of building the engine house and the new multi-purpose building. This person has become a partner, a friend, a mentor, someone who has given their time, their resources, and their influence to this project. This is a man who is passionate about sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ and who seeks no credit for what he does. And he does it not only for this ministry, but for other ministries as well. I want to introduce you to Mitch Cox. Welcome.
Thank you, Terry. And let me get the microphone. See, Terry had one that was attached to him. He didn't offer that to me. Can everybody hear me now? Let's see where I can do this. Okay. So first of all, thank you, Terry. I want to thank you for those kind words, but also I just want to thank you for the 39 years that you've spent planning for Doe River Gorge before it ever happened. He was originally hired to be a youth director at a church, and he decided that the camp would be a great way to do that. And basically, he can tell the story. We don't have time. We're already over. But he had the vision of this camp, and he made it happen. He worked hard to make it happen. He's been here ever since it's been open since then. So big round of applause for Terry. So when Terry came and shared this Christmas train story with me from Dry Gulch, I thought, wow, if we can invest $6 million and at the same time create an opportunity to share the gospel with thousands of families each year and get a return on our investment that could help fund the camp ministry, that's a win-win, and I'm in. So to date, Terry's already said some of this stuff, but to the date, we've already paid for the locomotives, the passenger trains, the storyboards. We've also paid for 90% of all the grading that Baker has done, and they've done a whole lot more than what they actually contracted to do. So we've paid 100% of the railroad ties, as you saw, that were donated to us. We've already paid for about 25% of the installation of the track itself. We've finished one new building, and we've kind of started on that last building. And Terry's already talked about that seam of rock, but it was unbelievable when he showed me that seam of rock. Terry said, "We got this seam of rock over here, and it's granite, but it's broken up in all these little pieces." And he said, "You think we could some way crush that and use it?" And I said, "Yeah, I think we can." So that's when I called Jeremy and took him over there. He's the real expert. And I thought we saved about $500,000, but Terry said we've actually saved almost $1 million. But that was just an incredible situation. So it appears that now, after all of the donations and the great things that have happened here, that we only have about $1.5 million to go to have this entire Christmas train project finished. So just think, if we finish this project, we can create an income stream to cover a significant portion of the operating expense of the whole Doe River Camp ministry. And when it comes to giving, and this, as Terry said, this whole camp experience has just been a prime example of people using their talents. So when it comes to giving, it's all about the talents that we've been given and whether we put these talents to use or not. So Doe River Gorge is one of the best examples I know of the hundreds of people for 25 years that have used their talents and resources to enhance the camp experience. Many of you are sitting right here in front of me tonight. So I applaud you and I thank you. So God doesn't expect us to use talents that we do not have to give money that we do not have. But he does expect us to use the talents that we have been given and to give a portion of our excess money to help others spread his message. And this message is actually never clearer than the parable of the talents, where Jesus tells the story found in Matthew chapter 25, verses 14 through 30, of a master who was going on a journey. And he went to 3 of his servants. To the first he gave 5 talents of money. To the second he gave 2 talents of money. And to the third he gave 1 talent of money, each according to his ability and to his talent. When he came back, he went to each to see how they could use their talents and the ability to invest his money. Can you all still hear me? So the servant that had been given 5 talents had doubled his to 10, and the servant who had been given 2 had doubled it to 4. But the servant who had been given 1 had dug a hole in the ground and hid it until his master returned. So to each of the first 2 servants the master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful for a few things, I will put you in charge of many. But to the servant who he had given 1 replied, you wicked, lazy servant, take the talent from him and give it to the one who has 10. For he who uses their talent will be given more, and he who does not use them, even what he has will be taken from him. And throw that worthless servant out into the darkness where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. I can't remember any time that I've read a passage that Jesus said where he was so harsh in his words. I truly believe that we've all been given different talents and abilities, and the important thing is what we do with the talent and abilities that we've been given. Do we sit on them, or do we grow them and share them with others? You've just heard all the wonderful things that are going on at Doe River Gorge, and I'm asking what role you might play in this ministry. As an extra incentive and to demonstrate my commitment to this project, I'll match another $500,000 for all the donations that are made in this next year. So, okay, that's good. That's good. So now, that's too much. So now I'm coming to the ask. Now I'm asking you to spend a couple of minutes in prayer, in communication with God, and just ask him what talent and resources you have that you might share with the Doe River Gorge to further their ministry. I've learned that there is great joy in sharing our resources, and I pray that you will join me in sharing your talents and your resources. When you're finished praying, the table leaders will pass out the pledge cards, and if you're so led, please share what talent or resource you would like to share with Doe River Gorge. And I thank you.